Danny Green of the Philadelphia 76ers left tonight's game with what was released to us later as a calf strain, and this was a very concerning looking injury because immediately after it happened, he was in obvious pain and he actually left and then returned to the game wearing a boot. Now, although we do not know the severity of the calf strain at this point, Doc Rivers was asked after the game on Danny Green's condition, and he basically said that as of right now, he's not ruling him out, but he is doubtful as to whether or not he will play the next game. The recovery time for a calf strain, of course, is dependent on what grade that calf strain is. And since some people may not be too familiar with the anatomy or the grading system of a calf strain, I'm going to go ahead and focus on that with this video. Welcome, basketball fans. For those of you that aren't familiar with me, my name is Nick Gallo, and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. And with this video, we're going to take a very close look at Danny Green's most recent calf injury against the Atlanta Hawks in Game 3 of the NBA playoffs. If you like today's video and you find it informative, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I will be making more videos in the future regarding sports injuries, rehabilitation, and other physical therapy related content. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. Now, when we're talking about the calf muscle, basically the calf muscle is made up of 3 different muscles, and they are the gastrocnemius, the soleus, and another muscle known as the plantaris. Now, first of all, the muscle that we often associate with the calf, that gastrocnemius, that is that big fat muscle that we see in the back of the calf, located up at the knee and coming on down through the remainder of the leg. Then the soleus, that is another muscle that's located slightly deeper within the lower leg, and that's actually located a little bit lower. And the plantaris is more of a very thin muscle that's also located in the calf. All 3 of these muscles, however, they're going to attach onto the heel via a structure that a lot of us are familiar with, and that is the Achilles tendon. All 3 of these muscles are going to contribute to a motion at the ankle known as plantar flexion, and that is when a person is going to be pointing their toes downward like this. You can think of also when a person is doing something such as a calf raise, or if you're standing on your tippy toes, this is when those calf muscles are going to be activated in the back of the leg. Now, on the contrary, when a person goes into a position known as dorsiflexion, this is a position where the toes are going to be coming up just like this. And when a person goes into this, this is when a person is going to be stretching all of those structures located within the calf muscle. Now, when a person goes into a motion known as dorsiflexion, this is when a person's toes are going to be pointed back towards them just like this. In this position, the muscles in the calf are going to be stretched. Now, there are several causes for calf strains. The first, of course, is overusing the calf musculature. And this can be if a person is running too much, maybe they're not resting enough. And oftentimes basketball players, of course, they are running throughout the course of the game and a lot in practices. So that could be a reasonable mechanism for the injury. Another one is if the muscle gets overly stretched for some reason when a person goes into that excessive dorsiflexion position and it does a lot of stretching to that calf musculature. And another one that we often see with sports, and this actually happened with a few players in the NBA, one that really comes to mind this season was Marcus Smart. This is when a person is, of course, trying to explode off of the floor. So they're going into a brief dorsiflexion motion like this, and then they're going to explode, whether they're going to go for a sprint or they're going to jump, things like that. So all 3 of these are actually very common mechanisms for a person to strain their calf. Now, I usually like to show the actual play that the person gets injured on. However, in this case, there's not a very good camera angle right now that shows Danny Green get injured. But in instances with calf strains, and of course, because that Achilles tendon is a part of that musculature, in Achilles injuries as well, you can see oftentimes zoomed in clips of something moving within that area of the lower leg. And one that really comes to mind this season, of course, once again, is Marcus Smart. We saw that as Marcus Smart was going to explode off of the floor, we saw what looked like the muscle straining or slightly tearing, whatever it was that was going on within the back of his leg. But unfortunately, right now, we don't see anything specifically that points us to that in Danny Green's case. Mainly what we saw with Green was that he seemed to be not moving as fast as he normally does, and then as soon as the whistle blew, we saw him wave for the bench to sub somebody in. So I'll go ahead and I'll wait and see if we get a better camera angle, and if I do find one, I'll go ahead and post that in the comment section for everybody. Now, there is of course a grading system for the severity of a calf strain, and they are grades 1, 2, and 3. Now, with a grade 1 calf strain, a person is going to get overstretching of the muscle, but there will not be any tearing. In a grade 2 calf strain, a person is going to get some overstretching of the muscle with a little bit of tearing and some partial tears. And then finally, in a grade 3 calf strain, a person is going to get a full tear of the calf muscle. As of right now, there has not been any official word on the severity of Green's case, but once again, that's another piece of information. As soon as it comes out, I'll be sure to update everybody in the comment section. Usually when we get somebody in the clinic, when they come in with something such as a calf strain, depending on the severity, what we're going to do is immediately we're going to go ahead and put them on ice. Now, usually when we're using ice, this is going to help try and bring down that inflammatory response within the calf, because as you can imagine, when a person has a calf strain, they're going to have difficulty walking because it's going to be quite painful, and oftentimes it's going to be accompanied by bruising as well. In the initial phases of the injury, this is when we're going to implement that acronym I refer to a lot as RICE, and that of course is R for rest, I for ice, C for compression, E for elevation. And this is going to be done typically within that first 7-day period when the person is in the inflammatory phase. Then, depending on the severity, we're going to go ahead and work in some light stretching to achieve full range of motion at the foot and ankle. Then, once a person does very well with that, we'll implement strengthening and then sport-specific exercises. Once again, all of this is dependent on the severity, but generally speaking, this is going to be our rehab process when a person comes in with a calf strain. Since we don't have a very good view of the calf strain actually happening, and as of right now, there has not been any imaging done to Green's leg, and they have not officially released the grading system of the severity of his strain, it's pretty hard to tell whether or not he's going to be playing next game or not. I would say that if it is a low grade, maybe a grade 1 calf strain, he's still going to have some difficulty whether or not he will play in the next game. So as of right now, I do tend to agree with what Doc Rivers says, but of course this is going to depend on his follow-up appointments and what comes back on the MRI, which I'm assuming he will be having shortly. As soon as I hear any more updates on Green's case, I'll be sure to update everybody in the comment section. And of course, if you happen to hear something and you want to update everybody, please feel free to do so also. And that's it as of right now regarding Danny Green's most recent calf strain against the Atlanta Hawks. Once again, thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you like today's content, please subscribe to the channel because I will be making more videos in the future. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.